Hi, I'm Peggy Farron, and we are live with the Understand Photography Show, where we talk about travel, nature, and fine art photography. Welcome to episode number 107. Wow, we've been doing this for a long time. My guest today is Bernie Hines, and we're going to talk about creative compositing and photography techniques. But first, let me give my little commercial. This is being broadcast live on the Understand Photography Facebook page. We're live at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Fridays. And then on Saturdays, we upload the recording to YouTube and to iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, anything that you listen to a podcast. However you listen to a podcast, you can listen to the Understand Photography Show. So please subscribe, leave comments, please review us if you like the show. It really, really helps us a lot. Our next 4 weeks to proficiency in photography, it's our online class, but it's a live class. So while you're taking the class, I'm right there with you to answer questions and things like that. If you can't find the dial to turn or whatever, that I'm right there. So that starts October 17th. First class is shoot and manual, second class is composition, third class is all about lighting, including flash and how to balance your flash so you don't get that real flashy look. And then the fourth class, I call it the techie stuff, which is metering modes and things that are just going to make your life easier. You're going to get a really solid photography education in just 4 weeks. So that starts October 17th. And our deadline for our Ladies Only Cuba trip and for our Ladies Only Mount Dora trip is coming up I think it's in like 6 to 10 days. So if you're thinking about coming to Cuba with us or coming to Mount Dora with us, please contact me right away. You can just email me right at Peggy at understandphotography.com or give me a call. I'm easy to find, understandphotography.com. The Cuba trip is February 2nd through the 9th, 2019, and it is going to be amazing. I've designed my dream trip because this will be my 4th time to Cuba. So we've been, our company has been going to Cuba since 2013, so we kind of have it down by now. And then the Mount Dora Ladies trip, that's actually coming up really fast. That's December 5th through the 7th. And that's just a weekend, or it's not a weekend, it's a couple of days, 3 days of just intense learning, but having a great time while we're doing it in Mount Dora, Florida, which is in Central Florida. It's a beautiful little town. And while you're on our website at understandphotography.com, check out the other trips Joe Fitzpatrick is leading. Our Everglades trip is sold out, but he still has openings for the Forgotten Coast, which is the Panhandle, Apalachicola area. It's so cool. It's like old Florida. That, I believe, is in May, and then St. Augustine is in April. So today, my guest is photographer Bernie Hines, and Bernie has pretty much tried his hand in all things photography. I mean, he's been into portraits and events and wildlife and portraits and landscape. I think I said portraits twice, didn't I? Anyway, but today we're going to talk about creative compositing and Photoshop type of stuff. Welcome, Bernie.
Well, thank you very much. I'm flattered that you asked me to come.
Oh, well.
I saw from your previous episodes, I am among good company.
You sure are. We've had some amazing guests here. Well, you're going to be amazing too. Now, you obviously are into all kinds of different stuff. How did you get into, like, creative photo layering, collages? I mean, you really do some cool stuff with. Do you do it with Photoshop?
I do. In fact, well, it's interesting. I would say my interest in collage just started years ago when I saw collage work, and from somebody else, and for whatever reason, I saw it. I said, "Wow!" It spoke to me. Okay. And I said, "I want to do that."
Okay.
As for the layering and the masking and the Photoshop work, I'm really not so interested in that. Yeah. But it's necessary to get where I want to go.
Now, when you first saw that first collage, did you know how to do that kind of stuff?
Oh, no idea.
Not at all.
Although my photography goes back to black and white film days.
So you've been a photographer a long time.
And I essentially did it with black and white film.
What do you mean you did?
I would take your image, take your image, and then take an image of out in the park. I would make a 16 by 20 print from your image and a 16 by 20 image from the park. I would cut you out with a razor knife.
Oh my gosh.
Out of the print, paste you into the other image, rephotograph it, and reprint it.
Wow.
It's Photoshop. That's all Photoshop is. It's the same old thing.
Except for on a computer.
Yes, and it costs a lot less to do. It's made my life so much easier. When you make an error, you delete. Let's start again. Whereas in the old days, right, I bought film. I had to pay for development, had to pay for the prints. I cut them up. I paid for more film.
Yeah.
I redeveloped it and reprinted it.
Wow.
So it is so much easier today.
Yeah, yeah. Now, how did you learn Photoshop? Did you start taking, did you start with Photoshop before Lightroom was around?
Yes, I
Okay.
did. Actually, I'm going to say I started, it must have been Photoshop 2,
Oh, you've been using Photoshop
And-
since the 90s then, right?
at least.
Oh, my goodness.
And I want to say, I hate to brag and say I taught myself, but I agonized my way through it.
Well, back then we didn't have the same, I remember, what was it called? Adobe had maybe they still do, they had Classroom in a Book. Do you remember those? That Adobe put out?
I missed that.
Oh, they were not easy to follow, but that was the only way you could learn that stuff back then. You know, I had Photoshop in a Classroom in a Book, and it was so hard.
Well, Photoshop turned out to be easier to learn. It's not unlike learning to use a computer. You just can't sit down and learn to use a computer. You have to have an objective. I need to write a letter. I need to make a chart.
Right.
And with Photoshop, I wanted an image.
So,
And it was just a matter of figuring out how to make it.
so now what do you use you just use a bunch of layers is what you do? Or?
My primary tool is Photoshop. And yes, sometimes my images are 25, 32 layers.
Wow.
And just keep layering it up and masking the layer below it. Paste something in.
Okay.
It's
Now, how do you come up with these ideas? I mean, you have your subjects are kind of all over the place, right?
they are. I admit it.
You know what? It's, I teach a class called How to Sell Your Photography as Art, and it is a very typical problem for photographers, including me. We like everything. So to get yourself to have one look is really hard. Because I like everything. I like portrait photography. I like this. I like I like composites now, you know?
Yes, I went down that road. I like everything, huh?
Yeah.
But I just had a natural attraction to one particular set of images, and I went in that direction. Currently, I basically get ideas from my images. I surf the internet.
Okay.
I have a couple of favorite places to go. www.daggerbay.com.
Dagger
Yes,
Bay.
one word.
Daggerbay?
Correct.
Okay, what
One
is
word. It's a website where you can enter contests, and it has a pirate theme. And they have a
that? Oh,
ship.
Dagger Bay.
Dagger
okay.
Bay, yes, it has a pirate theme, and they have a ship, and you can compete on the photographic deck, the illustration deck, the writing deck.
But it's all pirate themed?
Well, no, it's
Oh.
the website itself is set up as a pirate.
Oh, I
pirate.
see. I see.
Anyway, if you look there for inspiration, just look at other people's images. If you look on the effects deck, it's basically a photography forum where you can enter images, and they allow any type of editing for their contest. In fact, sometimes that website provides the image for the contest.
Oh, and says
So
do something
you
to
download
this?
it, and 100 people work on the same image and send it in for the contest.
Oh, how cool is that?
And everybody sees it differently. It's really amazing,
I would
the
bet
level of
that's
talent.
I bet that's a great educational opportunity. Because one of the things I always say, just when you're even trying to learn photography, is just get out there with other photographers, because you'll be standing right next to them, and they will see something completely different from you, and then it helps stretch your mind.
Yes. Pinterest. Pinterest is another source that I use frequently. Just when I have downtime, I just open up their creative photography
Just do you
place,
type in
pages, and I scroll through them and every 20, 30, 50 images, one will speak to me. And I'll say, I like the concept behind that image.
And then you do something similar.
Similar.
You don't copy, but you.
It's impossible to duplicate them almost.
Yeah, of course.
But yes,
And you don't want to
produce
copy
an
them
image.
anyway. You want to have your own spin on it, right?
I do. I produce an image that's similar in concept. And they're great sources of inspiration for me.
Now, when you, okay, so let's say that you get inspired by something on Pinterest. Do you use your own? Do you go out and take the pictures, or do you get them for free download pictures? I don't know what the heck is that called?
A free download, yes. Well, initially, once I see the concept, let's make it up. We'll take a little child and we're going to have her sitting on the edge of the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
A very dangerous situation that would never occur in real life. I see that as the
Hopefully.
concept. Well, I go out, my final images out, everything in the image is my own shot.
Everything.
Everything.
Oh.
Initially, however, let's say I saw that concept. I saw an image with a small child doing something dangerous. And I says, oh, I like that concept. I want to make an image like that.
Okay.
If I don't have anything in my files, I will go and download some images. Free images are available. My favorite place to go for them is a place called Pixbay.
Pixbay?
Yes, .com.
Everything has a bay with you.
Yeah, it does. Well, I live in Florida. In any event, you can download. I search their site, and maybe I'll get a picture of the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
And I'll get a picture of a subject sitting. And I'll do the paste up to see what it looks like.
Okay.
Now I know I'm satisfied myself that the concept works.
Oh, okay.
Delete that. Go get my own images.
So you're going to go to the Grand Canyon?
Well, I go somewhere with a cliff.
Just teasing you.
I haven't found a good one in Florida yet.
No big cliffs in Florida. We do have cliffs in North Florida somewhere. I've never seen them, but I keep saying I'm going to because, we started doing those photo trips up to the Panhandle area, and there are cliffs around there, but I still haven't made it yet. Anyway, but you don't use those in the final.
That's correct. I use all my own work in the final. And what I found in doing this type of work over the last couple of years is more often than not, my style of photography, I end up taking picture parts rather than a final scene.
Oh, when you're out shooting, you're thinking, oh,
I
like that cliff, but I don't like all the stuff around it, but I know I could use that cliff somewhere sometime.
Correct.
Okay.
I see things within a scene, and I say, I can use that.
Now, how do you organize that? Do you use Lightroom?
I have not advanced to Lightroom.
Lightroom's hard, in my opinion.
Yes. When I got Photoshop, I got a program that came along with it called Bridge.
Right, okay.
And
so
I
that's how
use
you
Bridge.
organize through Bridge?
I organize
and
through
do you
Bridge.
you just would tag cliff,
Oh,
danger
yes.
child, I don't know.
Keywords. I am a nerd about
A
keywords.
nerd about words.
That's it. So I keyword everything.
Okay.
And
So as you're putting them in, you keyword everything.
I
as you're
keyword
uploading.
them as best I can,
Okay.
so that I can find them again.
I know. I mean, that's my problem. I use Lightroom. I put in those keywords, but I'm not that good at Lightroom. And, I don't know what hard drive they're on.
Well,
They could be on a hard drive from 2 years ago, which is upstairs in the archives or whatever.
Yeah, in my system, if you ask me to pull up a picture of a red airplane flying, I would put in those keywords, and I
Just
would
like
have all
that.
my red airplanes that are
Wow,
flying.
That's awesome.
It's beginning, yes, you have to train yourself to do it. It's
Yeah.
sort of the nerd work, really. It's just grinding it out.
Yeah, because it's time consuming. When you're, for me, I'm like always in a hurry to get my stuff uploaded and done, and it's time consuming
yes.
to put all those keywords in.
And a lot of my images now, because I do the compositing, I do a lot of cut and paste. I sometimes spend a lot of time, it's just relaxing time. I come back with my images and I see things that I took that I actually like. I cut them out and put them on a transparent layer and save them as a transparent layer.
Because you know you're going to want to cut it out someday.
I don't know what I'm going to do with this image, but someday I'm going to use it.
Now, what do you do for the fine selections? You know, some people use Topaz Remask?
Yes, I'm familiar with it.
Some people use Photoshop. Photoshop has some kind of thing to do with specific edges now. I can't remember what it's called. I know it too because I use it. That's the one I use, but it's gone out of my head.
Well, my favorite selection tool is the pen tool.
The pen tool?
Yes, it's one of those tools that are not used by many photographers.
No, I don't even know how to use the pen tool. I don't think I've ever used it.
Yes, Photoshop, I think, was originally designed for illustrators, not really for photographers.
Right.
And the pen tool is one that they use.
Okay.
And it's fast, it's accurate.
Now, do you have to have one of those little Wacom tablets or something to do that?
You don't need one. I use one, and I highly recommend it. During the summer, I go north, I operate off my laptop, and I have a mouse. I can still use the pen tool, but I'm quite spastic at it.
Yeah, with a mouse, it's a lot harder.
Yes.
So you recommend getting the Wacom tablet? That's the brand, or are there other brands?
Actually, there are other brands, but Wacom is I think the leader in the industry.
And how big is yours? Because they make them all different sizes and prices.
They do. In fact, they have them where you can actually operate on the screen now.
I've seen those. I forgot what the name of those are. I don't know.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes. Anyway, my hand works very well in the Wacom. I have a lot of hours experience on it.
Do you have a big one or a small one? Or?
I would say the one I use is 6x7.
6x7.
Yes.
And
maybe 6x12. It's the medium size, not quite as large as an 8.5 by 11 paper.
Okay, so how's the learning curve on that? Because I tried one only a couple of times, and I found it very difficult to use.
In my former life, the very first computer I was ever given was a tablet with a pen. So I basically learned computers with a pen.
Wow.
And I'm not really very good with a mouse at all.
So you didn't have a big learning curve on the Wacom tablet?
Not really.
Now, how specific can you get with that? So it's just like using a fine tip pen? So you can get pretty specific?
Well,
but
when I do my selections, I have my image, I blow it up to 200, 300%.
Okay.
So I'm looking at an edge, and you can get right within the pixel. I occasionally, picking out stray hairs in the background, go down the hair, the width of the hair, and back the length of the hair.
With the pen tool.
With the pen tool.
But so if you enlarge it big enough, it's not too hard to do.
That's correct.
Can you do it in small strokes, or do you have to have it like one long stroke?
Oh, no, it's many small strokes, or one large stroke.
There's some people, like Heather, she's amazing. She can draw all these things, but I can't do anything like that.
I have on my projects to-do list is to build a green screen.
Oh, yeah?
And then you have select color range.
Yeah.
And it comes out in a snap.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be fun.
So I have quite a large collection, maybe not a terabyte, but I have a file with objects and people on transparent layers.
Okay.
So if you ask me today to invent an image in front of you that had a dinosaur in a park, I have a dinosaur in a park in my transparent layer file. I'll put it together for you in 20 minutes.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yes.
Now, what about the other things? So, like, you had, I don't know, you had a flamingo with different colors. How do you do those colors? Is that a picture of something, or is that a drawing, or are you using?
Almost everything I find begins with a selection.
Okay.
Basically, to make that flamingo image, I selected the body of the flamingo, and I pasted another image on top of it.
So those colors are just a photograph of something?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And if you change,
And then you do a
change the
blending
blend mode,
Okay. What do you
so
have?
that you can see the shape of the
The
flamingo
feathers.
underneath and the feathers coming through.
What, do you have a favorite blending mode? Or?
Oh, multiply.
Multiply, just like
Right,
that.
just
Doesn't that make
like
it,
that.
That makes it a little darker though, right?
It does. And
But you like it.
occasionally you have to use overlay or you have to use another one.
But multiply is the main one?
I would say make up a number, probably 80% of my image multiply works.
Okay.
If it doesn't, I don't get discouraged. I just go through the others. And there are,
And
I don't
for-
know how many there are, 12, 18 of them. I just go
And
down
for-
the list and keep looking at the
Yeah,
image.
and for the people who don't know about blending modes, it's just, it's in the layers palette. It's up at the top of the layers palette, and it's, does it say blending mode? Or
Actually,
mode? I don't
it
remember
says
what
mode.
it
I believe it just says mode.
And it normally
it'll
is
say
at normal. Yeah, it'll say normal. That's the little window you want to
Yes.
open, and you can try those different blending modes, and they're fun.
It does. Huh? There are so many tools in Photoshop. It's absolutely wonderful.
Do you continuously take classes and learn? I mean, because you can never learn Photoshop, right?
I've been doing Photoshop, oh, actually I can tell you almost exactly 16 years. Yes, and I still learn something new every week.
I can't believe how little I know, and I've been using it just as long as you have, more than that maybe even.
Sometimes
And,
you have to relearn it.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
don't use
yes,
something for a long time.
Exactly. There's so much to it. It blows my mind.
Well, even though I do quite a bit of Photoshop, I don't know very much about computers. I resisted them all my working lifetime.
Oh.
And in fact, when I retired, moved to Florida, built a house, I had a wet darkroom built
Oh, wow.
on my house.
Oh.
Now basically a closet with a sink. But digital photography came along and I made the switch.
Yeah, and boy, you made it well, because you really embraced the whole, all the different composites.
The
And
first time I saw Photoshop, someone had showed me you could switch heads, and I had to have it.
I remember the first time it was eyes, and I was just a beginner photographer, and this one father of the bride, I was working for a wedding photographer, and he just blinked in like every picture. And so, and actually Mary Lou was on my show. She started her own company, but she was the graphic person at the lab that we used at the time back in 1998 or whatever. And I was like, you can open somebody's eyes? How do you do that? I couldn't believe it, because it was filmed back then.
Yeah. Well, I took the Photoshop from working in the wet darkroom, reasonably smooth transition, because I see the icons that they use for the tools
Yeah.
are the tools you use in a darkroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. The burn tool for using your hands and the.
Yep. Not all of them.
So
but
as soon as
yeah.
I saw the icons, I knew what they did. I didn't know quite how to use them yet, but I knew what they did.
So you strictly use Photoshop? You don't use any other program? Well, the Bridge comes with the Photoshop.
Yeah,
and
Bridge
the
comes with Photoshop for my organization.
Adobe Camera Raw comes with Photoshop. Do you shoot in RAW? Or?
Yes, I shoot in RAW, and I dabble a little bit. I have the Topaz filters.
Okay.
You want to make something painterly or sort of glamour glow, you can use some of the filters.
Okay, yeah.
But 80% of my work's done strictly with Photoshop. I go there first. There might be easier ways to work, but I know how to do it. I go there, and if I have 3 extra clicks, I have 3 extra clicks.
So people, if they want to learn about compositing, what are the things they need to learn in Photoshop? They need to learn layers.
Well, I would say the first thing they need to, yes, they need to know layers, and they need to know masking,
Okay.
and they need to know how to cut an object out of one picture and paste it into another picture.
So selections, the selections, even though they're not that hard to learn, they're hard to do, in my opinion.
They can be tedious.
If they have hair, like trees have the little, you know.
Yes.
I have a class, actually an online class called Photoshop for Landscape Photographers, and I talk about how to make those selections of in the branches and stuff, because if you want to change the sky and you've got trees, you've got all those little tiny hairs.
Yes.
Hairs, not hair. What are
Yeah,
they?
the leaves,
Branches,
the holes in the leaves. Yes. Depending what kind of tree you have.
Yeah, yeah. So it's hard. Those kind of selections are really hard.
Well, I feel that over time, I've learned to shoot for collages.
Okay. What do you mean
Yes.
by that?
I really pay attention when I'm shooting for the backgrounds. For example, I might be shooting a subject. I'd rather shoot it against a clear sky than against the trees and the branches.
Okay.
It's going to be easier to select
To
out.
cut out, yeah.
Yes. Also, when you make a collage, you're putting subjects from different images into one. You need to have the lighting consistent. You can't.
Oh,
you can't
very
shoot.
good rule.
Cannot shoot something on a sunny day, something on a cloudy day, paste them together. That doesn't look quite right.
And also, if they have if you have a shadow on the right, it better be on the right on everything in your picture, right?
That's correct. The other, you learn to shoot as much as you can, all of the parts of the collage with the same focal length lens. If I were to take a picture of something with, say, a 300 millimeter lens, a background, and then take a picture of this coffee cup with a 28 millimeter lens and try to paste one into the other, there's something that doesn't look quite right.
Oh, that's
So
such great advice.
You try to use the same focal length. You try to get the same angle.
Oh, right.
You think, a simple image. Let's paste an antique automobile that was taken at a automobile show in a Publix parking lot.
Uh-huh.
Right? Very busy, people around, maybe the stores in the background. You take 20 minutes, you cut the antique automobile out. Well, if you shot it from the side, and then you go take a image of a roadway you want to put the automobile in, and you look up the street, the image doesn't fit.
Funny, yeah.
So you're always looking to match angles.
Do you, when you're shooting, then do you try to shoot it like different, like say that car, you would shoot it at different angles just in case? And
most
same thing
certainly
with
do.
as up and down angles as well too. Shooting down and shooting up at something makes a different look as well.
Absolutely.
So sides. So if you
Absolutely
see the
correct.
coolest car on earth and you know you're going to use it, you would shoot it probably from all different
You
angles.
do. You do. And
Okay.
you can get away with, there's a little play in Photoshop if you haven't used the edit transform tools.
Okay.
And there's warp and skew. And if you took, let's say, a shot of an automobile, 3/4, so you saw the front of it and the side of it, and try to put it in a roadway or someplace else, and it wasn't quite matching up, you can skew it a little bit
To try to
and
make it look
fool the
more-
viewer.
Okay.
But you cannot take the front of an automobile and totally turn it sideways.
Yeah, right. Okay, so this is such good stuff. So when we're thinking about compositing before we even get to Photoshop, we want same lighting,
Yes. Same angle of view.
same angle of view, same focal
No,
length.
Yeah.
What else? Anything else?
Yes. Those are the
While you're
primary.
taking
Those
it.
are the primary issues.
That's really good advice. I wouldn't have even thought of that in the first place.
Well, anyone who goes down this road to explore it will find these things out pretty rapidly.
Yeah, once they're like, what's this? This looks
Yeah,
funny.
this doesn't look quite right.
Yeah, okay. All right,
Yeah.
so then you put it in Photoshop. They need to learn layers, masking,
And how to cut an
how to
image
cut
out
the image out.
and
and
put
put
it
it-
on a transparent layer.
Okay. And then
Then it's just a matter
blending
of
modes, and
the blending modes. Those would be the
that's
the
more of
primary
finishing.
issues
Those
you
are
need
more
to know.
finishing, right? Yeah.
everything else becomes finesse.
Wow.
Really.
So that's not that much to learn, really.
Not only that, I mean, I presume most of our viewers here are photographers. The wonderful part about this, when you put one of these collages together, we already know about, quote unquote, the rule of thirds. You know that an image has to have the right saturation. It has to have the focus on the subject matter within the image. All of those apply when you make a collage. we already know that part of it.
Right, we should.
We should, and we're all striving to learn it. And so that part of it is not really new.
So you follow the same rules of composition. So let's say you're putting this car on the road. You're going to think about the rule of thirds.
Yes.
Maybe put the car in a PowerPoint.
Correct.
With it facing into the picture, not driving out of the picture.
Exactly.
That's what you're talking about, right?
You got to go get the part, go shoot the picture part that you need.
And then put it in the right spot compositionally.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. That's good stuff.
And our images, one of the qualities of an image is often its storytelling power.
Okay. What do you mean?
Well, you think of newspaper images, right? They've storytelling power. Two animals interacting with each other, it has storytelling power. When I create these images, I try to build in some storytelling power.
Okay.
Just the same way I build in the rule of thirds and build in.
All right, so you're like, you got the car, it's driving down the road, you're trying to make a statement of some sort. Like what kind of statement would
speed,
you make?
maybe we're going to show its speed, maybe we're going to show how saturated, how brightly colored painted it is.
Okay.
We may be putting a sign on the side of it.
Okay.
It might be at an intersection, stop for red light, photograph from the backside so you can see the traffic lights. Maybe in the lane next to it is the backside of an elephant. Stop for the same light.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you can do that, can't you, in compositing?
If you have the shot of the elephant. How many times have we all gone to the zoo? We shoot the animals, you shoot them profile, you shoot them face on, you shoot them 3/4. How many of us have the backside of an elephant in our files?
Yeah. You do.
I do. You can count on it. And this season, here it is October, Halloween's coming. I have skeletons of a lot of animals.
Oh, wow.
In my files. And Lassie, I have an image I'm working on, and it's somebody, a child running toward you, sort of crying and in terror, and I picture putting a dinosaur behind her chasing her.
Oh, yeah, that's cute.
Where do you get a picture of a dinosaur?
Yeah, where do you?
Last season at Halloween, I'm waiting, Home Depot had a 6-foot skeleton of a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Wow.
Yeah, I almost purchased it. I examined it pretty dang closely.
Ooh, that would look good in my yard.
It wasn't quite, didn't quite have the articulation of the arms and the legs. I wasn't going to be able to put it into the position I wanted it. But I'll find it. It's on my to-find list.
It's too bad. We had at Naples Botanical Garden last season for like 3 months. They had a dinosaur exhibit. So you could have gotten some good dinosaurs there. They were amazing. I mean, they were amazing, and they were life-size. It was really cool. It was a really cool exhibit.
I call that a Bernie shoot.
A Bernie shoot. Next time I'll call you. They do have some place called Dinosaur World up in Orlando, don't they?
Yes, they do.
But you need one looking. Well, those dinosaurs they had at Naples Botanical Garden, they roared, and it was so funny because, you know, I do a lot of event photography. So they had this fancy thing for Opera Naples. So they had the opera singers in the beautiful garden, and then you hear roar in the background. It was so funny. So they were competing with the dinosaurs.
There's a use for everything. This past summer, I came across a shooting opportunity. I was in a town that had an art exhibit.
Okay.
It was a sculptor who he had placed about 25 or 30 sculptures, life-size, people sculptures of mostly subjects we would recognize. We all know the sailor and the nurse.
Oh, right.
That they have up in Sarasota.
Yeah.
Well, he had a life-size sculpture of that. He had a life-size sculpture of American Gothic.
Oh, yeah, the dad and
they
daughter.
placed them around town. They placed the American Gothic one out by a farm.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Right.
nice.
That
He's
Andrew
doing
Wa-
his own compositing, only
He
with
did.
real life sculpting.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, we can use those, trust me.
Wow.
We had Andrew Wyeth, Christine, the girl on the lawn.
So you went and took pictures of
Oh,
all
I
of
went.
them?
They gave you a map. We went around town shooting. It was a wonderful day.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like so much fun.
Oh.
You know what, you're making me inspired because this is a whole different aspect of photography. I never thought about the shooting part of composites. I always think about the Photoshop part of it. But the shooting part of it, keeping your eye open for the cool things and
Well, you know, digital in itself has partly taught me this. When I shot film, I could still shoot these. It would just take sometimes weeks to get the setup. And one click of the camera, it's on the film, you have it. Now it's click, 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 and a couple hours in front of the computer. That's the reverse.
Do you ever send any of your work out, like to cut anything out or anything like that?
Oh, no.
See, I'm lazy a little bit because, you know, for me who's a working photographer, I have to swap heads a lot. Well, I can do that fairly inexpensively through
Yes.
the internet programs, you know, that they, not like you can just send it to somebody and
They do it.
in Peru, I think is where I send it.
Wow.
And they come back the next day with a nicely swapped head, and it's not that
Yeah.
expensive. I charge the customer pretty much what I
Yeah.
pay, and I don't have to do the work.
I've been asked to start that business, but I do enough of my own.
Yeah, well, you don't. I mean,
And-
when it turns into a business, it's not as much fun.
Oh, the best thing that ever happened to my photography was retirement.
Because then you do what you want to
You-
do.
I only make an image if it's fun.
Yeah,
if
I
I
love
want
that.
to make it.
I want to get to that point. Actually, I get jealous of people like you and
Yeah.
all my students. You know, most of my students are retired or something like that, so they have time and they do all these amazing things, and I just don't have the time. I'm working all the time. All right, so how long on average would you say it takes you to put together, or is it completely different on every single composite?
I would say by and large, I create an image in about an hour.
Wow, that's pretty fast.
Now, that's not from starting from shooting it, but when I sit in front of the
Let me sit
computer
down.
and I have all of the pieces I need, it takes me about an hour to put it together.
That's pretty impressive.
That's not to say I don't have a couple of images in progress that are sitting there for maybe a year or two, waiting for me to find a part.
Oh, yeah. Like you need that bat for this picture.
I
and
need
you
a
don't have
bat for my
picture.
image, and I'm just waiting.
And you're not going to break down and just buy a
No.
picture off the internet. You're going to
No.
have to have your own bat or
That-
whatever it
It's
is.
gotta be my, it has to be my bat.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
So I have a file of images in progress, and some of them are pretty old. Huh?
Now,
And
what do you do with these pictures? Do you sell them? Do you compete with them? Because you're the print competition director at the Florida Camera Club Council, so you're obviously, well, I don't know.
I
if you're
am actually. Well, I occasionally sell an image. Huh? Now that I'm retired, I'd previously shot weddings. It wasn't my day job, but I'd shoot a dozen weddings a year just to support my film habit.
Yeah, yeah.
And now somebody sees one, they'd like it, I have it. If I don't give it away, I sell it.
Okay.
I do compete,
Yeah.
basically in the Florida Camera Club Council and a few websites, just to be challenged.
Right, right. Well, I think the feedback is good for you too, right? I mean,
I'm
if
very
you get,
fortunate in that I have a small group of photography acquaintances,
Okay.
and I share my work in progress, and they're not afraid to tell me it's terrible or this concept doesn't work, and vice versa. They send me their work, and I like this concept, but I think you ought to replace the.
Do they do the same type of stuff as you?
Yes.
The compositing and that kind of stuff?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And how did you meet them, and how did you put this little group together?
Well, I've never really thought about it much. Just evolved over time, huh?
So
Really?
you just met the first person and
Yes. My collages, when should anybody ever go look at them, they're not for everybody. But if you see something and it speaks to you, we connect. We talk to each other. I'd like to try this. You know, the Photographic Society of America has study groups.
Okay.
And they have a creative study group.
I did not know that. I belong to the PSA, but I didn't know that. I'm not a careful, like, I don't read I skim the magazine, you know? I don't read it carefully, so.
There certainly is a lot of fine print.
But there's, yeah, that magazine's a little intense.
Yes. Anyway, they have these study groups, and they have a creative study group where.
And is it like a forum on
I
the
would say
internet?
that's a good description. Once a month, you put up an image, and people in your group will comment on it. This would look better if you had a window in the background. This is a terrible concept, or we like this.
That's what a great.
And you look at their work as well.
I didn't even know they did that. And I think, you know, so many people want, you know, their work critiqued, but mostly they're afraid to put it out somewhere. But that sounds like it'd be a little bit more.
It's gentle.
Exactly what I was looking for. That was the word I was looking for, because people are afraid,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, I'm afraid still.
Well, after a while, I find the fault of a lot of forums is, I would say, people are afraid to speak up and tell you have a terrible image.
Yeah.
And that they're dancing around it and trying to be very gentle on you.
And some of them are the opposite, where
Yes.
they're just doggone mean.
You put up an image, all you get is great shot, love it. You don't get anything out of that.
Yeah.
And it becomes
I
a
know.
point where somebody thinks it's terrible. Oh well, so bad, too
But
bad.
the whole point of these
get-
groups is to help grow. Because see, now I have a Facebook group, right? The Understand Photography group. But we don't critique unless somebody asks. Because most people just want to show off. They don't want critiquing. But some people, you know, they really want to improve and learn, and they say, you know, what can I do to make this better? Or please critique this. And then we'll, you know, we do try to be gentle though, but still say, hey, I think you really should have followed the rule of thirds in this case, or, you know, whatever.
Yes. Yeah, I know in my own photography club, an image goes up, they know it's mine. I don't
Yeah.
have to have it signed.
Yeah. That's good though. That's good that you have your look, because that's what I was talking about. When you become an artist, you need to create a look, and they know it's Bernie Hines, man.
That's it,
So you're not really actively trying to market this stuff, though. More
No,
for
I'm not chasing markets. Occasionally, the creative stuff that I do with people, if sales come out of it, it usually comes out of more normal, standard photography.
Okay.
Yeah. And now that I can spend time at it, I can afford, if I took your normal portrait, I can afford to spend an extra hour, an extra 2 hours to make a creative version. When you come to get your image, I show you your standard image. I said, oh, by the way, how do you like this version?
And what would you do first? What would you do in a standard portrait to make it
Right, I'm just saying.
make it weird?
Well, have you coming out of the frame?
Oh, I like that.
I changed the backgrounds.
Okay. All right.
Keep it simple. You could use some of the Photoshop filters, poster edge filters, or do a line drawing out of it and pastel color it.
Okay.
And they see their standard image, and then they see the image that's been manipulated a little bit. Some of them like it, and some of them don't. So,
Okay.
but I can afford to do that now, where you're
Yeah.
gonna have to understand a portrait photographer trying to make a living.
Time is money. Time is money.
Time is money.
You hear me saying that all the time.
That's
Because
right.
the one thing, you know, now I'm editing my own work, but when I was hiring people to edit, that was the thing I was saying to them all the time, because they want to spend all this time to make something so perfect. No, time is money, it's good. And the problem is, when you're doing just portrait retouching, the less you can tell that it's retouched, the better.
Yes.
And so you could spend 2 hours on a picture and you can barely tell the difference, you know, and
Only photographers care.
yeah, the people who really don't, yeah. And I mean, I'm guilty myself. I have to tell myself time is money all the time, because I
Well,
get sucked in there
you know,
too. I
in
could
my
make her a little
position,
skinnier. And
I can afford the risk of the extra time.
That's nice.
It's wonderful. It is really wonderful.
that is really
Even
nice.
if the customer doesn't like it, it's still wonderful.
So for inspiration, we go to Pinterest and we go to Dagger
Bay.
Anywhere else?
And you go to the effects deck in Dagger Bay and look at previous contests. The level of competition there, really knock your socks off.
I've never heard of that site. I can't wait to go look at it now.
Previously, you may have heard, let's see, Worth 1000 was a website that closed down about 2 or 3 years ago, and it was the premier creative work site.
Wow.
And when they closed, Dagger Bay opened up to fill the void.
And is it an easy, I know a lot of people go on a website called DeviantArt.
Yes, I've been there as well.
But I know how to download things from there, but I don't find it an easy website to navigate.
Yeah, well.
Is that Dagger Bay?
I would concur. Dagger Bay is pretty easy to navigate.
Okay, that's good.
And going to become a computer expert, I guess, but I noticed that when you go to some websites, they'll show you the image in a small size. Dagger Bay, you don't quite see it full screen, but you see it fills most of your screen.
Oh, so you can really get the whole impact of the picture.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool.
I found that very helpful.
Now, when did you start competing? Like, have you been competing since you were still working part-time?
Yes, I actually, I'd say I've been retired 16 years, and I've probably been in a Canoe Club for, who knows, 15 or 20 before that.
Now, how do you, go ahead.
In fact, I was going to tell you a funny story. I had an aha moment many years ago, and I found out there are different images for different purposes.
Okay, what does that mean?
And it occurred to me, I was just beginning in photography, and I took a picture. It was my son and an acquaintance were taking a canoe trip, and I knew about what time they'd be coming through a particular part of the river. So I went down and I stood on the bridge. Paint this picture that I took. The river was wide. It was barely moving. There wasn't a ripple in the water. And the canoe, the two boys came around the corner, and for whatever reason, they paddled in a nice S shape, making a wake behind them. Big, soft S.
Cool.
And I shot it vertically, and I put them in the lower third.
Okay.
I didn't think too much about the image. Oh, I like this image. I put it in my pile of images. Some time goes by, and I show it to an acquaintance of an acquaintance. And he says, wow. He says, my Canoe Club would love this for the front page of their newsletter.
Whoa.
And they would pay you for it.
Ooh, even better.
That's right. $20 we're talking about here.
Yeah, well, 20 bucks is 20
That's
bucks,
I
guess.
This is a long story from a long time ago.
Okay.
Anyway, we did that. Another year goes by. I've probably only been involved in photography for about 3 years now, and I discover there's such a thing as a photography club.
Okay.
I'll go over and see what this is about. Oh, I see. They show their images, and they judge, and they compete. My stuff is good. I'll bring it in. Well, I brought this particular image in. It goes up, and it got torn to pieces.
Oh.
Momentarily, I was crushed.
Yeah, because
the critique. I've been 40. This story goes back 40 years, and I'm telling you, I remember the critiques. It was all that dead space in the top 2/3 of the image.
Oh.
That's awful. This doesn't follow the rule of thirds. This should have been shot horizontally.
Oh.
Wait a minute, I say to myself, I had an aha moment. That's why it was so valuable to the Canoe Club. Magazine pictures are shot vertically.
And they need a lot of dead space.
All that dead space is space for text.
Exactly.
Well, how can it be so valuable here and so invaluable over here?
Yeah, so that's where your saying comes from. Different, what's your saying?
Yes, different images for different purposes.
Yeah.
And I followed that theme along, and I realized the image, even the imperfect image that you would put in your family album, isn't a newspaper story.
Right.
It isn't wall art. It isn't fine art.
But it's meaningful to you.
It's a meaningful picture. It's a useful image.
Yeah.
There are no bad images. There are only bad uses.
Yeah, good point. Although there are bad images.
Well, you know.
I've taken plenty. Believe me, I know. Last night I photographed one of my son's friends. You know, it was his time for the 6-month baby. They had a baby, and then I said, okay, let's get the parents in here. And I photographed this. He's 33. I've photographed him since he was 18 probably, and I forgot how hard he is to photograph. He just makes weird faces, you know?
Yeah, okay.
So yes, I take a lot of bad pictures.
Yeah.
Oh, that was my thought. Man, this guy's hard to photograph.
Some can be. Animals sometimes don't cooperate, and the littler the kids are, the more difficult they are to shoot.
Yeah. You know, I had a photo shoot at the zoo through the glass with the sun glaring in, and you know, so you had animals, and she wanted the kids in the pictures, and yeah, that was.
Shoots can be
challenge.
difficult for different reasons, right? I mean, the one you just described, it was difficult for technical reasons.
Yeah.
But then you have the cooperation of the subject.
Yep.
That's another reason.
I had all of those. I had them all.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And if you're in it long enough, you will too.
Yes, that's for sure. You come across everything. All right, so let's. What else about the compositing? Anything else we need? What are some of the different? Now you said you use Topaz once in a while. Are there other like tools
I
and
play around.
software that we should know about?
Interestingly enough, when I started, just before I started compositing, I was a very heavy filter user.
Oh, okay.
I used all of the Photoshop filters. I used every weird and unique and bizarre filter I could find.
Okay.
And there are quite a few of them out there.
Yeah. Well, the NIC filters, now they cost money, but they're they're $50 now, I think.
It's been a while since I purchased any, but yes.
Well, NIC, they were free for
Yeah.
5 years or something, and now somebody bought them, and now they cost money. So
And there's
the NIC filters, the Topaz filters.
how about the flood filter?
You know, I always said I was going to buy that. I never have. Now, the flood is the one that gives the reflection underneath things, so it looks like you're in the water.
It does, yeah. That is the flood filter.
How much does that cost, do you know?
Wow, I have no idea.
I'm just curious. And do you know who makes it or anything?
I read the name of it when the screen pops up all the time, and I blow through it to get to it.
I always wanted to try that. It's been around for a long time.
Yes. Oh, a little hint. Believe it or not, the flood filter works absolutely best on water.
Really?
Yes. If you take a picture of downtown intersection, you can make it look like it was flooded. But if you have an image of a boat in the water, and you flood it where the real water is, you can control the height of the waves, the amount of reflection.
Oh, so it looks really cool.
Yes, and it becomes believable.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, most of the composites I make, by nature of the story that I'm putting in there, you look at it and you see a fairy or a dragon, or a frog with a suit on. I mean, you know it's not real. If you're trying to make composites that look authentic, that's a completely different venue than I'm doing.
Right, right.
That's when you really need to pay attention to using the same lens, getting the same lighting.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to make it believable in the venue or the style that I'm working. The image is not believable right away. You know, there's no fairy sitting on top of the toadstool.
Right, right.
But the image looks great.
Yeah, it's fun.
So there's a difference there then.
And art doesn't have to be real, you know?
That's right.
Art is, in fact, some of the stuff that's not real is, in fact, that's part of, I think, what, you know, since digital photography has taken off and everything and all the Photoshop and plugins and all that stuff, people have come up with amazing, amazing artwork, I think, just because they can. Because they can.
The skill set that you need now is basically use of a computer and use of a computer program like Photoshop or Topaz, whereas when I started out making these composites. The skill set, the most used tool in photography in my day that I used was a razor knife.
Oh, that's funny.
And when you make a 16 by 20 and you cut someone out, you get a white edge because of the thickness of the paper.
Oh, wow.
So now you learn, you take the side of a pencil or a felt tip marker and you do away with that white edge
Oh, wow.
before you paste it onto the next image. And you pay a lot of attention to your lighting so that the extra thickness doesn't cast a shadow
Oh, wow. Yeah, there were a lot of...
around the subject that you pasted in.
a lot of little things to think about.
Oh yeah, the skill set is different.
Well, I used to do the hand, you know, the black and white pictures with my boss that, you know, I worked for
Yes.
another photographer. And we used to use, they were kind of like magic markers, and you would put like...
Marshall's oils.
Yeah, yeah. And, you
Been
know,
there.
you would put little red lips and cheeks and blue eyes on the little kids or something like that, you know, just a little bit of pastel kind of, it was kind of cool.
Well, even before my time, I can remember being a youngster and taking film down to the drugstore for my mother. And you literally had to fill out what color shirt and what color eyes the subjects had.
Oh my goodness.
And they hand colored them.
Wow.
When you
That's
get,
before my time.
Yeah.
My time was...
Mind you, I was just little.
Now, what's coming up next for you? What do you
Wow.
got coming up? Now,
What?
you do a lot of speaking at the Camera Club, it sounds like.
I do. Well, I try to support the Florida Canoe Club Council.
Well, you're on
Clubs.
Are you on the board, or you're the print competition?
Well, I'm currently just, I'm temporarily the print director. Huh?
Print director,
Yes.
okay.
And I support all of the Florida Canoe Club Council clubs, and I make it easy on them, and I do speak and I judge.
Oh, okay, good. for
Basically,
you.
I've been down here to Naples and as far north as Sun City.
Okay.
So
And
I
Sun
have
City's-
some sort of reputation, not sure what it is. but-
Well, that's how I found you. I forget who recommended you, but someone recommended. Maybe it was Joe. I don't know. I don't remember who. So now, where can everybody find you? What's your website?
Well, actually, my website's in transition. Probably, I do have I have a number of albums posted that people might like to look at. If you emailed me, can we give out our email?
Sure. Why not?
Okay, it's my name, Bernie Hines, 1 at Comcast.net.
Okay.
And if you simply request a link to an album, I'll send you a link to some images I dare say you have never seen before.
And you sent us some, so we will put some of the images that you've sent us onto our website on understandphotography.com in the show notes. So if you go to our website, understandphotography.com, you'll see it says the Understand Photography Show. You click on that, and then you'll see
Well, if you like
the
the
notes
image,
of our images, of our show, the notes, and then your images that you sent us. I think you sent us 4 or 5, right?
it was yesterday already, I forgot.
Yeah,
But
me too.
we
And
sent
I
you-
looked
if
at
you
them
like-
today and I forgot. So
if you
know.
like what you see here and are curious about seeing more of them, Bernie Hines 1 at Comcast.net, request an album link.
And we'll put that in the show notes as well.
Great.
So because they're going to be on our website for a long time, don't be surprised if you get something a year from now, somebody saying, hey, I saw you on the Understand Photography Show. Could you send me a link to your album?
If it gets too bad, I'll change my email address.
Well, thank you for being on the show. Thanks for coming down from Port Charlotte.
Well, thank you for the invitation.
It was
I really
fascinating. I feel very inspired. I want to go and play around in Photoshop, and I'm going to look at, while I'm taking pictures differently now, too.
Oh, I hardly take a picture anyway. I always take picture parts.
I love that, picture parts. Well, thank you for watching. I'm Peggy Farron with the Understand Photography Show. Join us next week for episode number 108. We're going to have ecologist and nature photographer Bill Cox. And remember, please leave us a review, comment on the YouTube videos. Everything helps us. And if you're thinking about those ladies' trips, contact me, understandphotography.com. Thanks so much for watching.
Get up!